IF19 don't feel like I'm dating my partner M18 anymore. Should we break up? Can it even get better? Hi everyone, I'm seeking advice on what to do regarding staying with my partner if we should break up, if we can fix what's going on, if it's past the point of saving. Should I wait for him to get his license in 2 months? It feels like after high school, I kept maturing, and he stopped. This is kind of a rant, it's gonna be long, I'm sorry in advance. Thank you for reading. We've been together since high school, nearly 2 years, and I love him so much. We're practically the same person, we have the same interests, we finish each other's sentences vomit, I know, give the same responses, enjoy the same activities, talk about similar futures, we have open and honest communication with each other, we take care of each other, and we just feel nearly perfect for each other. He's my best friend and genuinely feels like my other half. Backstory: we both come from toxic families, his much more than mine, so it was the consensus from the beginning of our relationship that we both wanted to get jobs, licenses, and cars, and save up so we could move out within the next few years. He was in a bad mental state because of the family he lives with. I kept my half of the deal. Within a few months, I practiced as often as I could, despite my crippling anxiety over driving. I got my license. I was so shocked and proud of myself. I picked out our classes to take together for a semester of college, which went well. Actually did all the hours of research on it. I got a car, got a job, all on my own, because I wanted to start a future for myself. I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out myself. He didn't practice driving. There would always be a reason why he couldn't. It didn't matter to me that much in the beginning because our love life and intimacy were great. He is my best friend and only friend, my biggest supporter, my comfort and safety. He tells me every day that he can't wait to live with me, he loves me, and is so happy to be with me that I'm his everything, the only one he ever wants. Months later, I was at a breaking point. He had still done nothing. I sat him down, told him that he needed to practice driving, get a job, and get a therapist within the next month or two, or I couldn't be with him anymore. I begged him, literally begged him to take me on dates, that I wanted him to drive so he could be independent and be able to escape his household. He practiced more often and applied for jobs, but still never got a therapist. There were always several reasons he couldn't do something, that he didn't know how, that he didn't understand something, and instead of asking for help, doing research, asking me, he would just not do anything about it. He did enough to keep me satisfied for a few more months before it inevitably dwindled out again. He doesn't think to take me on dates, doesn't come up with things for us to do, and doesn't offer first. I told him I wanted to be taken out and for him to plan things, and he eventually started to. He's done it a couple of times now, but it would burn out after a week or two until I'd have to beg and pester him for it again. I'm the one with the license, so whenever I want to hang out or go out, I'd be driving. And for a full semester of classes, I'd go pick him up and drive him to college with me. I've also driven him up to his mom's house a few times. She lives up in the mountains, which is a 2 to 3 hour drive, another reason I need him to drive. Additionally, the only time we could really talk to one another without being interrupted by family was at night, so that's when we would talk about everything. It was also the only time we could really discuss our problems or issues as well. He began saying that he couldn't discuss it right then, because it was too late and we weren't in our best mental states, and that we would talk about it the next day. Which, sure, I completely agree and understand that we should discuss problems when we are at our best headspaces. But then he wouldn't bring it up the next day. He would somewhat act as if it never happened and would move on. My problems with our relationship would keep going unresolved and dismissed. After more arguments and begging, he eventually got a job and started practicing driving multiple times a week, which I'm so thankful and proud of him for. His practice driving permit expires at the end of July, so he plans to take his license test before then. He promises that things will change after he has his license, that he'll take me out on dates and take me places, and drive us up to stay with his mom every now and then. It all boiled down to a week ago. We were talking at night. I was telling him how upset I was with our relationship, that I love him and want to have a relationship with him, but he doesn't suggest places to go out, things to do, he doesn't offer first, etc. He said he was doing his best, that was practicing driving, doing his homework, working, supporting me emotionally, and that he couldn't do any more. I asked if he was driving and working for himself, to be independent himself, or if he was doing it for me. He responded he was doing it for me because he loves me, that he wouldn't be doing everything nearly this fast if it was for himself. That was like a wrecking ball to me, that I thought after nearly 2 years, he wanted to drive himself places and work so he could make a future for himself, and become independent, but he was doing it only for me? He said again that it was late and that he didn't want to discuss it then. I told him fine, and that we would be discussing it the next day. I FaceTimed him the next morning and began to discuss it again. As I was in the middle of a sentence, his father walked into BF's room, and BF turned off his camera and microphone to talk to his father. He was silent for another minute or two, and I hung up. I felt so disrespected. He could have told me to hang on a second, could have told his father, but he just left when I was mid-sentence. As if he had just walked out of the room. He tried calling me back twice, claiming he wanted to apologize, but I just ignored his calls. I needed a while to process. He messaged me, saying his father walked in immediately and he was startled. I told him he could have said hold on or give me a second to either one of us, but he kept asking me to be understanding, and that he was panicked by his dad's intrusion. I told him to just stop making excuses, and that what he did was incredibly insensitive. He messaged me later that night, saying he had his alarms set to wake up the next day to see me. We had planned to hang out earlier in the week, again, me picking him up, that he loved me, and was here to talk if I wanted to. I pick him up the next day, and of course, I'm still upset with him. He still hadn't apologized until I told him again how hurt I was. He told me I'm sorry, what I did was rude, I should have said something. I asked if he genuinely meant that, or if he was just saying what I wanted to hear, and he said he genuinely meant it. I said thank you. I drove us to a Panera so we could do our homework, we got food and sat down in a booth, and I told him that I was still incredibly hurt. That our relationship wasn't going well, he wasn't putting in effort, and that it felt more like a friendship these days. I hadn't even meant to talk about it, it kind of just spilled out of me. I told him I needed a break. I said I love him, but I am so stressed with our relationship, with finals now looming over, that I can't keep doing this. I don't know if we can keep dating, if it's healthy anymore. We went back to my car because we both were crying. I told him that he was my best friend, and maybe we should go back to being that. I tried contacting my therapist, asking if we could have an emergency session to talk about this, but she didn't get back to me for a while. I was so upset, that for the first time in our relationship, I told BF that I couldn't drive him home. That I needed to go home. He understood, kissed me, said he loved me, got out of the car, and went back to the cafe. After a few days, he called me to talk about our days, but we both ended up crying. He kept saying that he didn't know what was going on, that he loved me so much, that he was so hurt that we were not talking. I explained to him that we're taking a break because I need to focus on finishing school, and that I love him, but I'm deciding if now that's in a relationship way or in a friend way. He had a panic attack while on the phone, but eventually calmed down enough to talk. I was feeling a panic attack coming on myself because of his, and told him that I was sorry but I could not help him right now. I couldn't handle this, that if he needed help, to talk to his stepmom, and that I needed to finish my homework. He told me to go, then, so I did. I finished my homework and went to bed. He called me at 3 a.m., waking me up, still crying, saying he had been holding back tears for hours, trying not to have more panic attacks, waiting for me to call him and check up on him, waiting for me to care about him. It was a lot of him saying he was so confused, that he thought I loved him, that he couldn't believe I said I couldn't deal with him, how was I okay with this, that I was so fine with this. It was a lot of silence on my end because I was so tired, I didn't really know what to say. I eventually told him I was upset about this, that I was suppressing my emotions honestly in an unhealthy way so I could finish school and pass this semester, and that I had told him I needed a break so I could do that. He kept asking how I could just put him on hold, show so little care, that I could just push him aside if I even loved him. That if I didn't love him to just hang up, then. I asked him why he thought I answered his call. I had let it ring twice before getting it a third time, thinking it was an emergency, but answered because I do care about him. But he said I just answered the call to stop hearing it ring, that if I couldn't talk right then, to either say I love you, or say I can't talk, or say I don't love you. I said I love you, I'm sorry, it's 3 a.m. and I can't talk right now. He said okay, then I hung up. We haven't talked since. I love him so f***ing much, I really do. It breaks my heart knowing how much I'm hurting him. He's so loving, so kind, never asks for much in return, and he's always there for me. I don't want to date anyone else, I don't want to start from scratch, I want him. I'm wondering now if maybe he's just a slower-paced person, that maybe I'm trying to squeeze him into a boyfriend-shaped box for myself, but maybe he'll never be able to fit. Maybe he can change, maybe it's his current household that's holding him back. Maybe I'm asking too much of him? Maybe taking a break, and him moving up to his mom's house for a while can help him figure out what he wants. Maybe it's that saying of if you let something go, and it comes back, it's yours forever? Maybe I need to let him go? It feels like my mind has given up but my heart hasn't. I'm really sorry this post was so long. I typically never post, I'm just so lost. I don't know what to do, what to think, or where to go from here. So please, Reddit, give any advice you're willing to, share any stories, anything really. I need help. Genuinely, thank you for reading. I'm going to try responding to messages, but please be patient as I have finals this week. TLDRBF keeps letting me down and lacks drive. I couldn't continue amidst finals week. We're now on a relationship break.